If trust is low in a relationship, everything gets harder. Communication, making decisions, even just being around each other. And here's the reality that people miss. Trust isn't something you either have or don't have. It's something that you build. It's something that you maintain. And it's something that you slowly lose, often in small ways over time. Whether it's with your coworkers, people you lead, whether it's with a friendship, whether it's in your marriage or a dating relationship, whether it's with your kids, whether it's with your ex-spouse. If trust isn't strong, everything else gets harder. So today, I'm going to walk you through 7 keys to building trust that actually lasts, and where most people get it wrong. Welcome to the Decide Your Legacy podcast. I'm your host, Adam Gregg. I'm a coach. I'm a family therapist, and I founded Decide Your Legacy way back in 2012. And what we do is we help leaders and their teams face the core issues that they're not talking about so they can actually get unstuck and take productive action and build habits, make progress that sticks. And from my point of view, everybody's a leader because everyone has influence. If you're a freshman in high school, you have influence. You're a leader. You may not be acting like it, but you're a leader. So today I'm going to share some stories from my life, experiences recently on this topic of trust. And these are 7 keys, 7 decisions to apply these keys that will change your relationships, change how you approach relationships, have a big impact on you professionally and personally. So the first key is say what you mean and then follow through. Trust starts with consistency. If you say that you're going to do something, do it. And don't say it if you're not going to follow through. So be careful as to which commitments you're willing to make. That means you have to say no sometimes. If you don't follow through, own it. Apologize. I messed up. That's on me. I screwed up. People aren't looking for perfection. You know why? Because they know they can't live up to it themselves. They're looking for people who are reliable. Every time you follow through, you make a deposit in the trust account. And every time you don't, you make a withdrawal. And it's little things that you do. And if you're honest with yourself, you already know where you're not following through. You already know what changes you can make. The second key, be honest even when it's uncomfortable. Tell the truth. A lot of people avoid honesty because they don't want conflict. And honesty means that you're pushing up against somebody else's perspective, somebody else's ideas, somebody else's, desires for that relationship, for that situation. But you're being honest. And when you don't address things in an honest way, they're going to pick up on that. Trust is built when people know that I may not always like what Troy says. I may not always like what Adam says. I may not always like what Emerson says, but I can count on it being real. I can count on it being the truth. I can count on it being what they feel and how they think about this specific situation. And that is powerful. And you'll watch shifts in your relationships over time when they can count on you telling the truth. And it happens in very little subtle ways. So I remember seeing something where this offer would expire in 12 hours and I was considering purchasing it. And then the next morning I woke up and I said, I hadn't purchased that. I really want to. So I logged back in, checked out the purchase offer, and it was still available. And no, I wasn't excited about it then. I liked the fact that I couldn't actually buy it after I had procrastinated, because that gave me trust in that business, knowing that it wouldn't have been available. I was less likely to purchase it now because it wasn't expired. And so I had the plan of calling the person who was going to sell this product and ask if they would extend the deadline. That would have been honest if it really wasn't available, but it was. So it made me question that specific product and that business at that time. So key number 3 is to address issues early. So some issues don't stay small. Avoiding issues doesn't keep the peace. It delays the conflict and actually makes it worse. It makes it worse for you because you're carrying this baggage of having to want to address something and not addressing it. It makes it worse for you because you're not facing things in your life. It makes it worse for you because you're not repairing or addressing that issue in that relationship. So don't trust. If you don't address it, trust drops. Trust in yourself and trust that you build in the other person. It makes you have to address it. So if you found this content helpful so far, check out and hit the link to Shatterproof Yourself Light. There's 7 steps to building confidence, and the last step is building relationships. But it gives you 6 steps to address within yourself before you actually have great confidence in relationships. So you go through this course and you're going to see what I'm talking about. So you can hit the link, check it out, go through it, and it's going to address this concept of trust in a much deeper way. And a lot of it addresses how to build trust within yourself. So number 4 key is listen to understand, not to win. So that's a big differentiator in relationships. Most people don't do this. Most people are thinking about their response prior to actually hearing everything the other person is saying. And you lose them in the interaction because they pick up on that. You can see somebody's wheel spinning onto whatever they're focusing on. But if you're not willing to be aware of the fact that you're not a good listener, you're never going to actually address it. So take the time to step back and self-reflect and say, hey, I'm probably not doing a great job listening here, but I know that if I'm going to build trust in relationships, I have to zone in and start working on this skill in my life. Most people listen to respond. Few people listen to understand. This will differentiate you greatly in your sales interactions, in your leadership interactions with your team, in your interactions with your kids, with your spouse, with your friends. If you're zoned in, and it's a skill you can learn, it's not a skill that's actually comes naturally to most people. Slow down, ask open-ended, non-leading questions, stay curious. That's where trust actually starts. That's where trust actually grows, is because you're willing to listen in order to understand. The key, number 5 in this process, is take responsibility. When something goes wrong, most people explain, they justify, and they defend. Okay, be the first, but trust is built when you say that's on me. Trust is built when you say, I apologize. Be the first to apologize. No excuses, no spin, own it. But there's another side that people often don't talk about. Sometimes trust is built by letting other people take responsibility for their actions, not intervening, not enabling, not letting your own insecurity drive the interaction because you're afraid of losing the relationship, doing the right thing, doing the hard thing. There was a moment recently when, with my daughter Emerson, this really brought this home for me. And she's wanting to have a car at school. And like most college students, her first instinct was, Dad, can you help me make this happen? I could step in and solve this problem for her, or I could slow down and put the responsibility back on her. She's an adult. She's in college. So I told her, I want you to take the lead on this, Emerson. Build a plan and think it through, and we will talk it through. And to her credit, on Friday, she actually did this. She came back with a pros and cons list. And it was good. So She talked about the pros is that she would have some transportation, that she would have some opportunities for internship. She'd have more flexibility with her life. And she also addressed the cons, the expenses to have a car in college in Boston, insurance, maintenance. She shared with me some ideas that she had. And I told her, I said, I'm really glad, Emerson, that you put this together. This matters. Now let's take it the next step further. What would it actually cost specifically? And what are you willing to own in this approach to purchasing a car? What kind of car and model are you thinking about? What do you think the monthly payment would be? What do you want as a down payment? How much are you willing to save up to contribute to a down payment? So we had that discussion. And I told her, I said, I'm really glad you put it together. This matters. And there's some details here. There's some details I want you to go and take the next step and get spelled out. And I told her too, I'm willing to help you in a substantial way, but I want to see the work. I didn't say that part, but I want her to come through with the details. So now here's the challenge with all this. So it's hard. It's hard not to just say like, hey, I'll fly out there. We'll go and look at cars, and I'll kind of, work it out. So I'll buy you whatever $10,000, $12,000 car, whatever. We'll go there from there. It's hard, because there's a lot of pause in the conversation. This is a different type of interaction than I had with her when she was 12, when she's now 19, just a different kind of situation. And it's hard for me. I mean, I'm telling you, like, this is a hard situation for me, but if I give into that tension and I handle it for her, I might feel like it's helpful in the moment, and I might feel like she's really positive towards me in the moment. But long term, what I'm communicating is that I don't trust you, Emerson, to handle this on your own. And that's not the relationship that I want with her. And I'll share straight with you here. So I don't always get this right. Like I'm learning that taking responsibility isn't just about owning your mistakes. It's about allowing other people to own their lives. And this has been a hard shift. I mean, it's been a hard shift from the last year here. Like I'm telling you, like, it's been a lot of challenging stuff for me in my own head. And the same thing happens in your leadership of other people all the time. It happens when you deal with conflict with your neighbors. It happens when you deal with conflict with your coworkers, and even with your boss and the people you lead and supervise. Leaders say they want accountable teams. They say it all the time. It's like somebody says, I want to stand up and fight for my family. It's like everybody says that. I'd die for my family. I'd die for my team. But then they step in too quickly, and then they drop the ball too quickly, and they take over and they make excuses. And when you do that, you don't build trust in other people. You actually build dependence in other people. So the sixth key is to be consistent over a long period of time. Trust isn't built by one big moment. We all have our great days where we're just fired up and we're building trust in our teams and we're doing all the right stuff, on that really good day. Maybe we just close a really big deal and we're like energized. I mean, I'm like, after closing a big deal, I can be just energized, fired up. But trust is actually built in those small moments where people are watching and they see over and over again, your consistency, your reliability is showing up all the time. And it's not about intensity. It's about that steady process of showing up. Are you getting things done for your clients? Are you the one who they can rely on? Are you the one that knows that they know is going to be honest with them? A leader will say at times like, hey, this matters. We're going to hold everybody accountable. It's kind of that like, I would die for my family, but would you put your family ahead of everything so that you're breaking bad habits? And so you're being honest with them. And so you're avoiding and facing addictions in your life and you're leading spiritually. Would you, because that's where the trust is really built. It's not just coming out saying, I'd die for you. You're my team. I'd fight for you no matter what. No, you're showing it in your actions day in and day out. A leader will say this matters. and I'm going to show up for you. And then they're going to prove it. They're going to prove it. They're not even going to say, I'm going to show up for you. They're just going to show it by their actions. A week goes by often after they say, I'm going to show up, I'm going to fight for you as a team, and then a week goes by and there's nothing. 2 weeks go by and then there's nothing. A month goes by and there's still nothing. You're not showing up. You're not holding them accountable. You're not doing what you said you were going to do. And here's the problem. As a leader, you forget, but the team does not forget. And that's the moment that trust takes a huge hit, because they remember the promises that you're making. They remember that you told them you were going to show up. What people hear is, when you don't show up, is what we say doesn't really matter here. And if you're not willing to follow through with accountability with your team, don't say it. Your team is always, don't say it. Like, if you're not willing, don't say it. Don't say it. Your team is always watching what you tolerate in your own life, in holding yourself accountable and holding them accountable. And the seventh key here is be willing, and willingness is a crucial word, be willing to have the hard conversations. They're going to know that in your interactions with them. Most people will say that they want trust, but they avoid the hard conversations that actually build the trust. And again, I'm going to be straight with you. This isn't easy, even in my own life. With Emerson, one of the challenges right now is getting consistent time to have interactions with her. We'll try and set something up, and then something comes up, and I get pushed back. And there's always a reason, and it doesn't all. It's like there's a reason going on that she has, and maybe I just won't push, and I'll back off. Maybe she'll avoid it, I'll avoid it, but neither of those situations builds trust. And I can't take the 100% of responsibility there. I mean, she's busy, and I'm not trying to say that she's not trying, because she is. But I feel like when you say something matters, if our communication matters, then we're going to find time and have this conversation. Even when it's inconvenient, even when it's uncomfortable, because avoiding it might feel easier in the moment, but it slowly erodes the relationship. And I see this as a form. I see this form completely from a different angle recently. So, I had a situation where a friend had another friend, and this friend called me because her friend was arrested. They had a difficult situation. So it was actually, they totaled their car, they broke the law, they ended up going to jail, kind of thing. And she was approaching me, asking me, how do I help this person without crossing the line? Okay. Because she cares. And because we all care. We want to show up for people, difficult situation. But if you're not careful in situations like that, you may slide into rescuing, and you may slide into even codependency. And trust isn't built through rescuing. It's built by being present, by telling the truth, and by staying in your lane. And in this case, it wasn't for her to become a coach or a counselor. It was to be a friend, to be a supportive friend, to be a friend who will hold her accountable. And sometimes the most trustworthy thing that you can do in a relationship is say, I care about you, and I'm not going to fix this for you. I may have fixed it in the past, but I apologize for that. I'm not going to fix this for you. And saying that is hard. But that's real support. And that's how we really build trust. Trust isn't built by showing up. It's built by showing up in the right way. It's not just showing up and enabling. It's showing up in the right way. And I encourage this friend to have a game plan going into these interactions, because if she didn't have a game plan, she could get pulled into the emotional junk in an interaction like that very easily. Have a game plan that you're committed to and you're willing to stick to, and be willing to step into the conversations that most people avoid. Trust isn't complicated, but it is intentional. It's built through consistency. It's built through honesty, It's built through ownership. And most of all, trust is built through courage. So don't try to fix everything here at once. If you know this is a struggle for you, don't do that. You're going to get really discouraged. Just pick one of those 7 areas. Go back and listen to the episode. Go through them again. And I got actually a blog post to link to that relates to this content. And it's something you're not going to want to miss as well. It's about these 7 steps to building trust. Okay. Different swing on it, different content, different illustrations, but it's going to highlight this content as well. So don't miss that post, because it's going to help this stick even deeper as a leader for you on how to build trust. So pick one of those 7 areas. Where am I not following through? Where am I avoiding something? Where do I need to step up? Because clarity for you propels action. And action is what actually builds trust. First in yourself, and then in those you lead and those you love. Trust doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in consistency, and it grows in courage. So if you want to go deeper and build trust, confidence, and clarity in your leadership, in your life, in your relationships, check out the tools at Decide Your Legacy, decideyourlegacy.com. And remember, you have to make a decision, because you can get content today, you can get insight today, but it's going to require you to make application. 20% of change is gaining that clarity to say, oh my gosh, I got to face something. I'm willing to look at it clearly and be honest with myself. But 80% of change is you're stepping out, you're taking action, you're committing, you're deciding, and then you're following through, and then you repeat that cycle. Really crucial. So I mentioned in an episode, 3 episodes back, like relationship red flags. And I want to tie this all together for you. So I have a gal that I've been communicating with, really cool, great, and everything. She's lives in California, lives by my parents, and we've been dating. So yeah, and getting to build trust, seeing how things are going and everything, and it's gone really well. So there's been things addressed, communication clear, not perfect, but hey, it's moving in the right direction. It feels comfortable. I'm excited about it. So I had a conversation last night, and it got kind of intense, because she was giving me some feedback in parenting, and I asked for it. I mean, I brought it up, and we were watching the final hour of the Masters together and talking, and it was cool. And go Rory McIlroy won it and everything. But so yeah, I was just being open. She was open about some stress in her job. I was open, and it was a real conversation. You know, it wasn't just this fun, and we have a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun. It's cool, and it's everything, but it kind of got real. I wasn't thinking it was going to, but it did. Gave me some feedback, and a lot of it was really helpful and useful, but I got defensive in myself inside, because I felt like for a moment there, like, I'm not a good dad. I need to change things. There's so much I got to work on. And I got overwhelmed by it, and I didn't really show that verbally, but I'm sure she could tell, because I justified, minimized, rationalized some of my actions and everything. But the cool thing about it was, like, okay, I took it in, and that's how you build a relationship. And she showed up for me by being honest with me about her perspective on how I can build a relationship. And I stuck with it, and I leaned in even though it was hard, and I listened, and I tried my best to just take it in. And that was a trust building moment. It didn't feel like it, though. That's my point. It was uncomfortable, because I wanted these interactions to be mostly fun, you know, and in my mind I said, oh my gosh, where are we going here? So, but then I stopped afterwards and I reflected on it, and it really was a trust building interaction. And then one thing I did, because I invited her to come out and visit me in Wichita. I've been out to California. I've been in her world more than she's been in mine. But I followed up at the end of the interaction to say, hey, you know, let's get some time nailed down where you can come visit. You know, we looked at a couple different weeks at the end of May, beginning of June. But if I had not remembered that and tried to follow up, I mean, that would have been that would have damaged trust. I felt it was a small detail, but I wanted to make sure we had the interaction. So we wrapped it up with that and tied a bow on it. Didn't get all the details nailed down, but we still have more time to do that. But it was a good trust building interaction. So in closing here, just want to challenge you, apply something that you learned today. Go back through this episode, go through the podcast, go through the blog, commit to one action to building trust. Think about it as it relates to your team or your family or your relationships with your friends, but do something about it. Don't just sit on it. That's a huge deal. You got 7 nuggets that you can apply that can have a big impact in your relationships. And that's what it's about right there. That's what it's about. Building trust, building relationships. So what are you going to apply? To decide something is a big deal. It's more than just thinking about it. It's more than just kind of giving it some attention. It's saying like, I'm going to commit. I'm going to eliminate all the other options, and I'm going to commit to doing this one thing. And then your legacy, by definition, is the impact that your life has on other people. There's no positive change and transformation in your life until you decide to change, and a lot is at stake. Your legacy depends on it. So I'm going to close today the way I always do. Make it your mission to live the life today that you want to be remembered for 10 years after you're gone. You decide your legacy, nobody else. I appreciate you greatly, and I'll see you next time.